But apparently there's too
I think
many
at this point, when I saw how
people using
jittery
flares at the
the
moment.
start was with ROUVY, so considering I'd just done a 35-minute warm-up, and the warm-up and the stream was absolutely fine, it did crash out, and when we finally got ROUVY back up and running, and all my live
The
streams
connection
back up
doesn't
and
look
running,
great.
we came back into the race at 660th position. I think the leader was around 6 kilometers ahead. A friend of mine was about 2.5 kilometers ahead, which meant the race was on. Obviously knew I had no chance of kind of getting a top 100th finish or top 20-30% finish, but
Oh,
thought
trying to
I'd
get
give
out
it
the
my
gate.
best shot and push for as much
Fairly
as I
decent
can. The camera
speed.
did bug out as well, and it got to the point where I was so angry and frustrated with the stream, I just rode on and ignored the camera that had frozen. But I think I did try to fix it again further into the ride. But it got to the point where I was very, very close to giving up on the big ROUVY race for the day anyway. But sometimes in life things don't go to plan, and it's about how you overcome it and you kind of just carry on and push through anyway. So that's what we did.
Well, we are back live, but we are way behind. Everything crashed. Don't know whether it was ROUVY, whether it's my computer. So I fucking just feel like giving up.
Before the race had started, I did have a race plan. I did aim to sort of stick to certain power targets throughout the race. But when I finally did re-enter the race and get back into it, it was just
everything
try
crashed.
to
We are
push as much as I can
fucking
from the
miles
start.
and miles and miles behind. I'm gonna got to try and catch up. And no chance of top 50. Be lucky to get fucking top 90 at this rate. So pissed off. So pissed off.
You can hear by my tone how frustrated I was, but every kind of hill that we entered early into the race, it was just go for it, try to catch up as much as I can. I mean, pushing 550 watts up this hill, whereas normally kind of early on in a race I wouldn't be pushing anywhere near this sort of power. I was livid, very, very angry. But we did manage to sort of secure a relatively okay position. So going back into this race, in the first place I did have a game plan to kind of hold 200 watts and then sort of increase, surge on the hills, recover on the downs. But when I finally did get back into the race, it was kind of just an all-out effort from the get-go, and just picking people off as we go. Wasn't expecting to kind of catch up with many people, considering most people were 2.5 kilometers ahead. Just there, I did just change the rider's distance thing on the left-hand side, who I can see, to friends only. And that's when I noticed a friend of mine was 2.7 kilometers away. Now that was the target, was to try and catch up with him.
Behind the leaders, because of being kicked out.
Again, another hill we come across, and again another big surge. Wouldn't usually push this kind of power early on, really high wattage for early into a ride. Would usually kind of push maybe 300 watts at most, surge up and then recover on the down. But I was incredibly annoyed, and when I've kind of caught up with people who's had a head start, as you will, it was a bit motivating for me to carry on and push, because I was kind of catching up with people and seeing that maybe I did have a chance to get a top 50% finish. Never know. It made me work either way.
I'm working hard to try and catch up. Trying to get myself back in the race of some sort.
As you can see by my heart rate, very elevated. I mean, pushing 176 beats per minute this early into a ride is pretty heavy, but have to do what you got to do to get back in the race.
We are catching people ever so slowly.
At this point we've moved up like 20 positions and still gaining, pushing,
Camera's
working
frozen
hard.
again. Fucking unreal, mate.
You can hear me
Unreal.
saying about the camera is frozen, so I am trying to sort out the live stream while trying to catch up with people. Overall,
Fucking unbelievable.
the live stream and the ROUVY race was not going to plan. I do apologise for the explicit language, but I was very frustrated. I know, no excuse, but you can imagine, been waiting all week to live stream this race, and it's just absolutely everything's gone wrong. What could go wrong did go wrong. At this point you can see that I'm literally just coasting down the hill trying to sort out the live stream. Hello! That is me trying to sort out the camera. That's what it's frozen like. Hopefully it doesn't stay there. Woo! But we are trying to sort the camera out. No, didn't work. It did just stay like that for the entire ride. Hence why we've just
No,
cropped
fucking
out the
camera's
camera.
gone, man. Him over there. Brick. Absolute shit show of a stream.
The part of my race strategy was to try and pick people off on the hills, and this is what we're doing now. Obviously a little bit higher power than what I would usually do early into a race, as I said earlier on. But I just wanted to try and catch up with the guys on the left hand side who ultimately had a huge head start. So surging over 400 watts here, we are pushing some good watts, really. The only thing with that, look at the heart rate. Heart rate is high. And I did start getting cramp towards the end of the ride, even with a energy gel and drinking lots of water throughout. But it was obviously pushing high wattage from the start just to try and catch up with people. There was no kind of pace and strategy that I would normally deploy. It was just kind of go for it and hope for the best.
Absolute shit show. 6k behind. A 2k gap.
Here we go, another surge. So little hills like this, little short inclines, or even some of the bigger climbs, is a good way of kind of breaking free from the pack or making a dent, especially when you've got people that they climb a hill, they put all out early on, they get to the top and they
1.5k
rest.
behind.
When you get to the top, that's the time to really put the power down. Get up
Friend of
and
mine.
over and push the power up and over, down into the downward bit. But we are now position 622, back from 660 when we first rejoined the race. So we are picking people off ever so slowly. Usually on the downward descents I would kind of try and recover, but I was really trying to close some ground here. We was catching up with Cav, who's 1.3 kilometers away. A little bit blurry on the stream, not sure why. But we are slowly, ever so slowly, closing the gap. I think when we first rejoined the live stream, or the ROUVY race, we were about over 2 point something kilometers away. We are slowly closing the gap. We've still got 12 kilometers left of the ride.
Oh, we are slowly catching up.
We're at the bottom of another hill. What we're going to surge up to this time? I think we're slowly starting to settle in to, or back into a bit of a groove. 400, 400, 380. There we go. I think we sit down and try to manage the effort a little bit better.
I know the camera's frozen. Not much I can do about that at the moment. The stream has been a shit show. HV, welcome. Apologies for the camera lagging. It's actually frozen.
As you can see, we are in the 607th position now, slowly picking people off. I think that out of 692, when we rejoined, we were pretty much at the end, at the last position. We were last, so ever so slowly catching up and getting into the thick of it. Nice descent now, and usually I would sort of be sitting at 190 watts just chilling, but I think we do up the ante in a minute and start pushing some higher watts. I can kind of understand why I was getting cramped now towards the end. I was definitely pushing way above threshold for way too long. Considering my FTP is actually meant to be 258, was pushing higher than that a lot of the time.
Okay, we're catching up with a friend of mine.
We are closing the gap with Cav now, who is, I think, 900 meters ahead. Playing a little bit of cat and mouse here. Big ramp here. What are we going to surge up to this time? 300, 379, 350. Again, what I like to do when you get near the top is push up and over. Too many people get near the top of a climb and just ease off because it's the easy thing to do. What's easy to do is also easy not to do. Push up and over the climb, punch over it, and it really does create a gap if there's people easing off when they get to the top. .558 now. Can we catch and overtake anybody else? Not sure when the next person is, because we've only got my friends available on the left hand side. Done this purely so I can kind of see where Cav was, who was my main person I wanted to catch up with, but anybody else was a bonus. This was kind of my own race now, and just to push myself, my mind and my body.
Not sure why the camera's frozen. The whole stream has been a shit show from as soon as we started. Actually, tell a lie. It was okay when we were doing the warm-up.
This kind of race was one of those where as soon as you see somebody ahead of you, it was like Target acquired. Let's go. Lock and load. Up and over. And overtake. There was none of this sitting in, drafting. It was purely just try and
the
overtake
ROUVY race,
as many people.
we had a message come up, bug splat, and then everything shut down. I've heard that a couple of times recently.
I think at this point I was sort of debating whether to sit in and draft alongside these, but then I looked to the left and saw Cav wasn't too far away now. So there we go. I thought, do I sit in and draft? No, let's go for it. We've got another incline coming up. Let's push up and over, push the incline, and just see how many spots we can secure and get ahead, really.
Got a bit of cramp in my calf muscle.
So the cramp did start in the right hand side of my calf, and then as we pushed towards the end, it was both legs. Haven't had cramp like that for a long time, but to be fair, I haven't really pushed that sort of power for that duration for a while either. Getting the power up for the descent. Still, heart rate is very high, 174, which has been pretty much that for the entirety of the ride. I shall certainly sleep well this evening.
Was hoping to get some content out of this live stream, but absolutely shocking.
Final descent pretty much until the bigger inclines come up. I think we've got a little ramp beforehand, but I'm feeling good. Slight bit of cramp in the right calf muscle, but I think the hill should be where I can really take some spots.
Oh, a little bit of a stretch out of the calf muscle. Everything on the stream's crashed. Apologies for that. Everything's crashed. Yeah, I'm here. Just about getting there. Fucking thing. Everything crashed. I'm way, way, way behind.
So here we go into the first of the two big climbs. We see that Cav is just over 100 meters ahead, and this is where we really start to pick people off on this hill now and on this course. Finally starting to catch up with some people after a terrible start, but the cramp is starting to set in now, so we'll see how we get on.
We're nearly there.
The comment on screen you saw that popped up said catch Reese up. This
There's
is
Cav.
Reese just there, Kavanagh. We are just about to overtake. And there we go. There is the overtake. We've just got to sustain this sort of power. We are only really sort of starting this climb. We've still got quite a way to go.
Fucking hell. We are approaching the top of the climb, so
as I like to do, pick up the power and push up and over to try and catch people off guard, the ones that are sort of having a little bit of a break after a hard climb.
Serious cramp going on.
At this point I remember unclipping and just having a quick stretch out of my calf muscle on the right leg as it started cramping quite badly, but it is what it is. We've been pushing quite hard for this race, trying to catch up and get back into it. But sometimes things don't quite go to plan, and today was definitely one of those days.
Well, not been talking much as I'm very, very annoyed at how this live stream's gone and how the race has gone. Started off very fast and then it glitched and everything closed down. All my live streams, everything.
Right, final climb, and we are now position 475th, so we've managed to move up the pack quite a lot considering we are quite a long way back after being disconnected and not starting again until like 6 kilometers in. Now here we go, see how many people we can pick off on this climb.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of people here.
Now looking at the watts, we look like we're actually trying to pace this one slightly better than we've been pacing the previous climbs. 270 is kind of where I'd like to be with these sort of long gradual climbs. So
Yep, I know.
happy with that.
I froze
Now,
at the start of the stream.
I'm sure once
after
we
it
get
crashed.
up and over the top, we'll
It's been one of them
bring the
days.
power up and try and get a little bit of a power down for the descent. Coming to the top of the hill, and as you can see, bringing the power up, trying to count the people that are sleeping, those that are taking a bit of an easier ride for the top of the hill. Finally got to the top, we can have a break. No, you get to the top, you push the power, and then you got a nice descent towards the finish line. You can really see from the heart rate data that we're pushing up that hill. Nice descent for the final sprint at the finish.
My God.
.1 kilometre to go. Probably do the sprint for the finish around 200 metres out. Okay, so we're 400 metres out. We are looking at starting the sprint very soon. Here it goes. Bearing in mind, both calves are cramping. Let's see what we can get up to. I think it's about just over 700 on this sprint.
Oh,
So
cramp.
that is more than enough, as I think most people had already finished at that point.
What a crock of shit.
And we finished 400, and I think the actual end result was 422nd, which, to be fair, considering we was like 6k behind when we reconnected, I'm pretty happy with the result. So overall, job done.